to our kids service. We're so excited to see you and have so much to share with you. But before we do that, we need you to stand up, make some room, because we're going to jump into some worship.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. And you have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. And you have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. And you have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. And you have been so, so kind to me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. And oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
Me. Hey, hello, friends. Hey, I'm so glad that all of you are here today. All month, we're talking about friendship. Friendship is using your words and actions to show others you care.
We know what it looks like to be a friend because Jesus has been the perfect friend to us. God sent Jesus to be our Savior, and Jesus showed people how much he cared for them with his words and actions. Jesus shows us friendship every day by loving us and always being with us.
Not only that, God made us for friendship. God made it so that when we do life together, life is better. It's like making music together with other people. We create harmony that sounds richer and fuller than if just one person is singing or playing alone. Pastor Shelby and I are super lucky because not only are we friends, but we get to harmonize when we lead worship together.
Today, we're in the book of 1st and 2nd Samuel as we look at an amazing story of friendship. But before we get into our Bible story today, let's start with our big answer. What is the big answer? It's the answer to the big question. This is the question you should get from that important adult in your life, and that is, what did you learn in kids' church today?
Our big answer for today is, friends keep their promises. And our memory verse for this series comes from the book of Proverbs, and it says, a friend loves at all times. They're there to help when trouble comes. Proverbs 17, verse 17.
Our story today from 1st and 2nd Samuel has to do with a man named David and his good friend, Jonathan. While David was still a boy, God chose a man named Saul to rule over Israel. But Saul didn't listen to God, so God sent the prophet Samuel to anoint David. This was a sign that David would one day be king of Israel.
David started out as a shepherd, but he really caught Saul's attention when he faced down a huge giant. After that, King Saul appointed David as the leader of his armies, as well as his own personal musician. God blessed David, and he won many battles.
Nice. David even became best friends with Saul's son, Jonathan. The people loved David so much that Saul became jealous. He wanted to get rid of David, so Jonathan decided to warn his friend. It's a good friend. He told David to find a place to hide in the field. Jonathan would bring Saul to the field and talk to him about David. Then he would tell David what he found out.
As Jonathan and his father stood in the same field where David was hiding, Jonathan begged Saul not to hurt David. In 1 Samuel 19:4, he said, please don't do anything to harm David. He hasn't done anything to harm you. And what he's done has helped you a lot.
Saul listened to his son, and he promised Jonathan that no harm would come to David. Jonathan happily told this news to David, so David returned to the palace to continue serving the king. But Saul didn't keep his promise.
One time, while David was playing the harp, Saul's jealousy overcame him. He threw a spear at David, but thankfully, David escaped. David went to find Jonathan. He said to his friend in 1 Samuel 21, verse 1, what have I done? What crime have I committed? I haven't done anything to harm your father, so why is he trying to kill me?
Jonathan insisted that his father wouldn't do that, but David told him that it was true. Saul was after him. David was supposed to eat with Saul the next evening for a special feast. But instead of going, he told Jonathan that he would hide in the field.
Jonathan would pay attention to the way his father reacted when he found out that David was missing from the feast. That way, Jonathan would know if his father had plans to kill David, and he would come back and report to David. Jonathan promised that he would be faithful to David.
Jonathan then asked David to make him a promise. He said, always be kind to me, just as the Lord is. Be kind to me as long as I live, and never stop being kind to my family. That's 1 Samuel 20, 14 and 15. After the two men agreed to their promises, Jonathan returned to his father. Because of the way Saul acted at the feast, Jonathan could tell that Saul really did want to kill David. Oof, yeah.
He made sure to warn David so that David could flee far away. Years passed. David escaped Saul again and again. One day, sadly, Saul and Jonathan were both killed during a battle. David was so sad about the death of his best friend, but eventually David was made king in Saul's place.
When David was king, he remembered the promise he'd made to his friend long before. He remembered that he had promised to take care of Jonathan's family. He asked in 2 Samuel 9:1, "Is anyone left from the royal house of Saul? If there is, I want to be kind to him because of Jonathan." David learned that Jonathan's son, Mephibosheth, was still alive, but he was unable to walk because of an injury he received as a child. David had Mephibosheth brought to the palace.
David said to him, "Don't be afraid. You can be sure that I will be kind to you because of your father Jonathan. I'll give back to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and I'll provide what you need." 2 Samuel 9, verse 7, David was true to his word. He welcomed Mephibosheth as a permanent member of his royal household. He kept the promise he made to his friend Jonathan all those years before.
That's something that friends do for each other. Jonathan and David kept their promises to each other. We should make sure to keep promises to our friends as well. When you keep your word, it helps build trust between you and your friends. It can help your friendships grow.
What does that look like in your world? There are probably lots of times when you tell a friend that you'll do something for them. This means that you would do what you said you would do. You show up when you said you would show up. You return your friend's game that you said you'd bring back. You let your friend pick the TV show like you promised back when you picked the last one.
When you think about it, it really comes down to what we always say in here. I should treat others the way I want to be treated. Remember, we can always look to God and remember how God keeps promises. God promised to send us a Savior. And when the time was right, God followed through by sending Jesus.
Let's look at our memory verse, Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times, and they are there to help when trouble comes. That's the kind of friend I want to be. A friend who loves at all times. I want to be a friend who my friends can always count on.
Just like our big answer says, friends keep their promises.
It's time for Memory Verse Breakdown!
Hey kids, today we're gonna break down this week's memory verse. Are you ready? Okay, here's this week's memory verse. You think you got it? Try saying it out loud. All right, let's take some words away. You think you still got it? Try saying it out loud again. All right, let's bring those words back and see how you did. Did you get it right? Awesome. Well, that's this week's memory verse breakdown. How'd you do?
Memory Verse Breakdown!
Hey there, everyone! Who's ready to have a race right here, right now? Ooh, I know I am. Okay, here's how it will work. There will be 5 laps. Each lap requires you to answer a question about a book of the Bible. For each question, you'll be given 2 actions to choose from. 1 action represents the correct answer, and 1 action represents the wrong answer. If you choose the wrong action, then please take a seat and cheer your teammates on. If you choose the right answer, you're still racing and can move on to the next question. Everybody got it? Good! Go ahead and jump to your feet. Let's get this race started. To complete lap number 1, you must answer this question. Is the book of Genesis from the Old Testament or the New Testament? Wave your hands over your head for Old Testament. or jump up and down for New Testament. Time's up. Genesis is in the Old Testament. If you were waving your hands, you finished the first lap. If you were jumping, please take a seat. To complete lap number 2, you must answer this question. Is the book of Revelation from the Old Testament or the New Testament? Spin in a circle for Old Testament, or hop on one foot for New Testament. Time's up. Revelation is in the New Testament. If you were hopping on one foot, you finished 2 laps. Only 3 more to go. Here's the question for lap number 3. Is the book of Ruth from the Old Testament or the New Testament? Do jumping jacks for Old Testament, or flap your arms like a bird for New Testament. Time's up. Ruth is in the Old Testament. Everyone doing jumping jacks is still in the race. All you flapping birds out there, please take a seat. Here's the question for the 4th lap. Is the book of Micah from the Old Testament or the New Testament? Spin in a circle for Old Testament, or jump up and down for New Testament. Time's up. Micah is in the Old Testament. If you were spinning in circles, you are probably super dizzy. But you made it to the final lap. You've just got one more question to answer to win the race. Is the book of Jude from the Old Testament or the New Testament? Flap your arms like a bird for Old Testament, or jump up and down for New Testament. Time's up. Jude is in the New Testament. If you were jumping, then you can keep jumping for joy because you just won gold. Woohoo! What an exciting race. Ooh, I'm so pumped I think I'm going to go run a marathon. No, except, ouch, I think I just pulled something. Maybe I better go ice this. Anyway, congratulations to all our winners. Thanks for playing, everyone.
Thank you so much for being with us today. But before you leave, we have that important adult in your life to go to lifechurchgreenbay.com/kids, where you can grab our Kids Connect card. There, you can discuss our big answers, memory verse, and even more. We love you so much. Have a great week.